Hey team, hope you're all doing well. Today's topic, I wanted to go over another great question, and that is how do you get over race disappointment? I think one of the most key characteristics that I've learned from athletes, world-class runners, especially from Kenya. Of course, there are other athletes out there that have a different mindset as well, a healthier mindset of running performance and running success. But the runners that I've trained with and lived with over the years from Kenya, their mindset, in my opinion, is much different than a lot of American athletes. They don't spend a lot of time on bad race performances. I think that's one key factor of how do you get over race disappointment. You don't spend too much of your time and energy on a bad race or a bad workout, okay? Take notes of if you had a bad workout or if you had a few bad races, take notes of what went right and what went wrong in those workouts and in those races, and adjust your training strategy. A lot of times, if you're being disappointed with your race performances, a lot of times look at how you're training. Are you spending too much of your time spending running at an aerobic effort? Okay, the only way we're going to get faster in middle to long distance runners, or in sprinting if you're a sprinter as well, you have to stress the energy systems of the body adequately and sufficiently enough and over a long enough period of time. You know, a big mistake for a lot of runners is we expect quick results and we have our own timeline. And the problem is a lot of time with physiological performances is it's going to take several more weeks, several more months, and sometimes even several more years before we hit that goal time that we're aiming for. A lot of athletes spend their entire lives trying to qualify for the Boston Marathon. Sometimes it takes several decades for a lot of runners. For me personally, I wanted to break a 2-hour and 22-minute marathon. That's 5:25 per mile for 26.2 miles. Back in 2007, it was a USA Track and Field Olympic Trials B standard time. You know, for me as an athlete with a minimum amount of physiological talent, I had an enormous amount of work ethic. But that being said, I had to make up for the lack of overall leg speed that I had, and I had to make that up with my work ethic. So it took me basically from 1992, when I first started running as a freshman in high school, all the way to 2007 before I achieved my goal of breaking a 2-hour and 22-minute marathon, running 2:19:35 for the marathon. So, and another thing I think that causes disappointment for a lot of athletes is a lot of times we spend too much of our effort, too much of our time in an event that really isn't our optimal event. Okay, maybe you're just not running to your expectations in the 5K. Consider running a 10K or a 10 mile or even up to a marathon and seeing how you perform in the longer distances rather than spending all of your focus and energy on a shorter race that might not be your best event. Okay. Now, I do think that training at shorter races and getting as fast as you possibly can in those shorter races, I think that is really essential, even if it's not your main event, because spending some time developing your speed, getting faster at those shorter races will help make you a much better, longer distance runner. To spend time, spend a few years, spend a few months, focusing on those shorter races, because again, you do want to get out of your comfort zone. And even if it's a shorter race and it's not really your race, I still think it is important to spend a little bit of time training for and racing in those shorter races. But at the same time, if your goal is to run a 15-minute 5K and your personal best is 19:30, okay, you may have to spend several decades or spend several more years to get to that point. But at the same time, what happens if your overall capability really is more catered to, more physiologically built for the half marathon or the marathon at distance? Then start focusing on more of your energy on these longer races, okay? And not spending so much of your time on the more speed-oriented, the more anaerobic type races, where you may not perform at as high of a level as you could if you were focusing on more of a longer aerobic type event like the half marathon, 10-mile distance, marathon distance. That is one additional way I think that will help you not become so disappointed in yourself and not placing so much stress on yourself, because again, you're really focusing more of your energy on a race that you're better built for. I hope that makes sense. It is a common question. How do you get over race disappointment? Okay, don't focus on what's ahead. Focus on your goals and what your short-term goals, your long-term goals. Don't spend too much time on a bad race or on a bad workout. This is one characteristic and trait that the world's top distance runners, middle distance runners I've trained with, sub 4-minute milers, athletes that could break 2:10 for the marathon, athletes that can run under 60 minutes for the half marathon. These types of runners that were much faster than I ever had the capability of running, taught me these athletes were always focused on the next race, and especially the Kenyans. Of course, I did learn from other Europeans and other great American runners, Canadian runners, and the Japanese and the Chinese and the Kenyans, and Ethiopians, they're the same way. Their mindset is always on the next race. If they had a bad workout or a bad race, they don't spend a lot of time on that. And I do think it does take patience and practice to get to that type of mindset, because it's natural to spend more time over analyzing a bad workout or a bad race, or maybe I should have trained this way, or maybe I should have put in more mileage, or maybe I should have ran more of my weekly mileage at a faster pace. Okay, you can't change anything that you did in the past. All you can do is learn from your mistakes that you made in the past in training and in your racing, and make up for that, and maintain your enthusiasm. Expect the fact that this sport, middle to long distance running, and trying to run fast times and trying to earn new personal best, takes an enormous amount of energy, time, and effort on our parts. Okay, and it also you have to have that support structure around you, and those individuals that understand that the amount of time and effort it takes, and that will support you, and also not care really in terms of how fast you run. They still love and respect you, and they still will support you regardless how fast you run. And also remember, your self-worth is not based on how fast you run. Maintain your enthusiasm for what you're doing. Don't overanalyze bad workouts and bad races for too long. Okay, it is natural to be, if you have a bad race or a bad workout, it's natural to feel a little disappointed over that. But just know your best races are ahead of you. Okay, and you can't change anything that you did. If it was a bad workout or a bad race, you can't change anything that happened in the past. All you can do is learn from those mistakes and aim to not make or minimize the amount of mistakes that you're making in your future races, in your future workouts. So I hope that's helpful for all of you that are either training for or trying or have a specific goal in mind. Feel free to leave me a comment below this video. I'll definitely reach back out to you. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon, so when I make new videos, you'll be notified of it. And definitely check out RunDreamAchieve.com. I've been there since 2011 making content, and been here on the channel for a little over 3 years, creating content for both beginners all the way up to elite level athletes. And definitely understand the mindset of runners and people in general that are goal oriented. I know that great results, we want fast. A lot of times we want fast results, but a lot of times it's really just a matter of being consistent, being a little bit more patient, and understanding that for us to get to our goal standard, it might take a few years, it might take a couple decades to get to that point. Okay, sometimes we get to our results and our goals much faster, sometimes it takes much longer. So the key is to not be disappointed and not lose enthusiasm for what we're doing in order to get to that point. So I hope that's helpful for you all. I wish you all the best in your training, and I will talk to you all in the next video.